Hey there. I'm recording this bonus episode because I often get questions about our community manager university program. Who is it for? How does it work? Should I join? Get occasional questions in our live chat on our website that make me think, oh boy, I really need to figure out a more simple way to explain this program. So, always working on it. As marketers, we're always working to simplify. I'm a huge Donald Miller fan, and his line is, if you confuse, you lose. So we'll keep working on our website description, but I thought I would record a quick episode for you, our podcast listeners, and anybody else who's interested in the program, and use it as a way to make it easier to explain what is the Community Manager University for, who's a good fit, how does it work, etc. So let's start with, why did we create it? We launched it 3 years ago, and we created it because I operated co-working spaces for 8 years, and I started supporting new operators through our co-working startup school as they launched, and they had to hire community managers, and everybody was training their community managers from scratch, reinventing the wheel every time. And the operators that I supported, both in the startup school and in our operator membership program, suffered from turnover, right? Community managers have a lifespan of, maybe 2 years, and then we have new community managers. So not only are we training community managers from scratch when we first hire them, then we're going to have turnover. We have to train a new community manager. So this poses a challenge for the industry. There's no training for co-working community managers, and it's a fairly unique role, right? This role wears a lot of different hats. If you have a larger space, then you may have the role broken down into a few different hats per, resource that you have. Maybe somebody's focused more on operations on your team, or sales, or community management, and sort of more member-facing skills. But you probably have team members that are wearing a lot of hats, and it's a bit of a unique role, and it's a fairly new industry. So how do we help community managers be more successful? How do we help community managers that might be on a small team or have no team at all feel like they have a network of other peers, a professional network that they can turn to? And for our operators and owners out there, how can we solve some of the pain of onboarding new community managers? Of course, you're going to have things that you do your way. You have your own sort of secret sauce around how you deliver aspects of the business. That is totally fine. Of course, we actually voice over that a lot in our content. We say, look, you probably have a specific way to do this. Here's a baseline to consider. And certainly, so who is the Community Manager University for? It is a great resource for brand new community managers. It's also a great resource for experienced community managers. It is really designed to be a training and development platform and resource for community managers, kind of at any stage of their career. And we're constantly looking for ways to support our more experienced community managers. We just hired a couple of coaches, and they're going to be doing some outreach with our more experienced folks to look for more ways that we can serve them and help them be successful in their role and enjoy the role. We think if community managers feel supported and like they're growing and learning and developing and having fun because they're part of a professional community that they enjoy, then we might get them to stay a little bit longer than they would have. And that's a huge win for everyone. So it doesn't matter whether the community manager is new or more advanced. We do training and other programming that fits community managers throughout the life cycle of their career. So how does it work? It's kind of course and kind of a membership, which I think is really where the confusion probably falls. So we have a lot of content. So first, let me kind of talk about the pillars of the program, and then I'll give you a peek into the type of content that we have. So the pillars are really around, like I said, training and development, learning and connecting. So we want your community manager to be able to really go deep into aspects of the role that they want to have some expertise around, or, learn more about. So there's content. And then we also want our community managers to learn from each other. Nobody's giving away any secret sauce, but we all have a lot to learn about how someone else might manage something. And, if you've been in this industry, it's very willing to share and very transparent. And we still believe rising tides rise all boats. So basically, everybody wins as this industry does better. So folks will share, best practices and help solve challenges. We've had some really, we have, people from all walks of life that want to be members. And sometimes that can be a little bit challenging. We've had some kind of recent interesting questions about challenging members, but community. So we have an active Slack group, and it is busy pretty much every day with people sharing ideas for community events they're doing, or, upcoming holidays, people asking for resources or support, or, hey, how do you handle this? And then we do live calls every month to share best practices and case studies and answer questions and have really rich discussions. And then we also do live training once a month. We also just started to kick off a couple of work sprints that we think will help sort of solve the problem around needing inspiration and kind of focused work time to work on social media and event planning. So those are totally optional, but we're always looking for ways to solve our members. So there's content and there's community, and both of those are ongoing. And our content starts from kind of very basic 101 level and goes into 300 level. So if we're going to kind of transition to talking about the content, we do have tracks, and we're building additional tracks. We have a primary certification track. So we issue the only co-working community manager certification in the industry, and it's fairly rigorous. You have to take 13 different modules, and you have to complete an assessment for each one so that we know you really understand the content. And these courses are across industry knowledge, community building, sales and marketing, and operations. So those are kind of the core content areas that we focus on for this role, and kind of line up with those hats that we see community managers usually wearing. So all of the content that we create goes into one of those core areas. We have certification track, which is 13 modules. And then we have about 30 elective courses that you can take that, again, fall under those buckets. So they're categorized for easy search. And we use a learning management platform that is excellent. It's very easy to navigate. It's mobile friendly, and it has an amazing search feature. So if you're wanting to do a deep dive on virtual office, you can type that in and it'll show you all of the training modules, resources, templates, etc., that we have on virtual office. If you want to get some training on optimizing your Google business profile, we have a lot of training on that, of course. You can type that in and pull that up. So there are tracks, and then it's also just kind of on demand. And we add to that library of training almost every month, because there are always new topics that are coming up for our industry, or things change. Like I recently did a podcast on how we just updated our member onboarding processes. We learn, you learn, there's always new information and better, more up-to-date ways to do things. Upcoming, one of our co-working coaches is going to host a session on how to use ChatGPT in the community manager role. So we're going to take baby steps, one thing at a time, but start to work on, okay, what are a few ways to use that tool to be more efficient in the role? And also just to learn. It's a great opportunity to learn about ChatGPT in context. So that's just one example. So we have a giant library of content. I'm not going to read through it all, but like I said, we break it down into industry knowledge, community building, operations, and sales and marketing. So the industry knowledge bucket, I won't go into too much, but really talks about, what is the co-working industry? What are other words that are used to talk about different models in the industry? How is it growing? Who are the major players? We talk about, getting to know the other players in your specific market. We do a lot with community building, event planning, why community matters. Member onboarding would fall. So a lot of our content kind of crosses these categories, right? So member onboarding might be a little bit of community building. We put it into operations. We help new community managers understand what onboarding and offboarding looks like, what the tech stack looks like. We cover leadership topics like having a weekly meeting with your team. We do a lot with sales and marketing. We have a lot of templates. So we teach the sales funnel. We have resources on onboarding and offboarding email series. We have a sales funnel email template series. We do tour training. We have how to host your first member event. We talk sort of bigger picture about the co-working success path. We do training on the co-working P&L. We do training on the concept of ads and SEO. We don't assume that community managers are running those things, but to help them understand how they fit into sales and marketing. We do a lot of training on the Google business listing. What else? We've done some automation training, co-working metrics. So what are KPIs that your space might be tracking? So again, some of these are pretty intro level topics and some get pretty high level. And honestly, I run an operator membership and oftentimes I'm trying to figure out, okay, like a lot of the content you can go at it from an owner perspective and from a community manager perspective. So we try to really put our community manager lens on it. We do some leadership modules around prioritizing and, focusing on getting the right things done. And we have coffee training, virtual mail training, so much. So there's a ton of content that you could totally create on your own. It would take a very long time. We've been adding to this library for 3 years, every single month. And certainly at the beginning, we seeded the library. So that's a little bit of how it works. Again, it's really for any level. It's a training and development platform. It's a little bit course. It's a little bit membership. It's a little bit content, a little bit community. It's a great resource for your team. We would love to have you join us in the community. We have community managers from all over the world. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to team@everythingcoworking.com. And of course, if you're looking for all the details and the link to register to join the community, you can find that at everythingcoworking.com/community manager. I should also mention that we do multi-seat discounts. So if you have multiple team members that you want to register for the program, again, send an email to team@everythingcoworking.com and we will get you set up with that discount.